You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Handsome Aaron Airport. I'm glad to be down here on solid ground with you tonight to keep Canada weird. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good. Just enjoying the heat here, although it's not as hot as it was last night. Last night was one of those nights, man, where you're just laying in bed wondering what it's all for.
I know how you feel. It is hot here in Nova Scotia, but I just got back from Ontario in Toronto where it was especially hot. There was heat warnings. It was insane. You couldn't go anywhere that wasn't air conditioned, even to get from like my air conditioned car into the air conditioned place that I was going. That moment in the parking lot was hell. I hate traveling, I hate being on airplanes, and I really dislike a hot and humid day. And that's why I love it here on Keep Canada Weird with you. I'm in my air-conditioned basement, in my comfy chair, curled up with my special drink. Tonight, in my Robin's Donuts cup, I have a nice hot tea. And I need this tea because I need a little jolt of caffeine. I had a long day of airports and gates and luggage. And this tea is going to give me the little bit of boost I need to keep Canada weird with you.
Wow.
You got anything special over there?
Every drink is special. I have, kind of said that a few times. I don't want to take away from any other drink just because I happen to have a particular drink in my hand. But the drink that I have may not be considered special because I've had it a few times on the show. It's a sugar-free 7-Up.
Okay.
However, the drink is encased in my Keep Canada Weird Entirely Tires drink cozy, they call them.
Cup cozy, drink cozy. Yeah, that was a gift from a listener, and it does look great with that 7-Up or Sprite or whatever it is inside there.
Look at that.
Crack it open.
All right, I'm opening. Ooh, there we go. And this is the first drink I'm going to have in my new Keep Canada Weird Entirely Tires drink cozy. Here we go.
Yeah. For new listeners to the show, Aaron and I often start our Keep Canada Weird news roundups with our special drink ritual, as we've just done. We also often start our show with a voicemail from a listener. Tonight, to break the ice, we're going to hear from Audrey. She's a listener from Ohio who has a pretty exciting story about eating while driving. She's referencing a past episode where we discussed eating while driving. My memory, admittedly, is not the best. I have no memory of talking about eating while driving with you. Do you recall a storyline on Keep Canada Weird that involved eating in your car while driving?
I do recall mentioning that my preferred meal while I'm driving is pizza because it's easy to drive with one hand and eat the slice of pizza in the other hand. So that is my go-to road meal. Will be a slice of pizza.
Okay, well, maybe we talked about that before. I don't necessarily remember it. I hope I called you on it, though, because my thought about eating pizza while driving is I'm going to get some grease in my lap. I like to have a muffin while I'm driving. That's why a drive-through coffee shop is so great. The worst-case scenario is you get some crumbs on your lap, and when you get out of the car, they just come with you.
I find the crumbs the slice of pizza. If you're getting one that's too fresh, like it's right out of the oven and they just put it out, that's not. I pull over to eat that because it's
on the side of the highway.
Yeah.
You put the hazard lights on.
Yeah, I stop right in the middle of the road and I focus on eating it over the plate that they gave me. But my preferred slice of pizza has been sitting out for maybe 20 to 30 minutes. In the little heating, display that they have, and I eat that, and that's perfect to eat while you're driving because it doesn't drip anywhere, and you can focus on what you need to focus on, which is your own life in the hands of other drivers.
There's no surprises with 25-minute-old pizza, but no surprises while you're eating and driving is a good thing. As we'll hear in Audrey's story, listen to this story of eating while driving.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. My name's Adri. I'm from Ohio. I have been thinking about this topic since you guys have brought it up, and that has easily been 3 weeks ago now. The idea of eating while driving. I had a story in regards to that, and it lives rent-free in my head. I was passenger princess with my husband, and I was observing the cars next to us, as one passenger princess would tend to do. And there was a man in the car next to me, like, tapping the end of his McFlurry cup, I would assume, to get the last of the M&Ms out. And he was tapping this cup ferociously, and he ended up rear-ending the car in front of him whilst doing this. No. And I can never forget the look of shock on his face. Like, he, moved the cup away from his mouth and seemed horrified by what he had just done, rightfully so. And I doubt that insurance would ever know that a McFlurry was involved in that accident.
I wonder if after the accident, if she made eye contact with him, because she would have been in the passenger seat. He would have been in the car next to her driving. When he rear-ended that car, takes the McFlurry cup away from his face, he probably first looks at the car in front of him, realizing what happened. I wonder if he then looks to his left and makes eye contact with her, being like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. She saw the whole thing.
Yeah, I can just imagine him, following her and being like, how much to keep you quiet? How many McFlurries is it going to take to keep you quiet on this? Nobody can know. I've got a McDonald's gift card right here. Let's make this happen.
Whatever he gave her, it wasn't enough because she's now broadcasted on Keep Canada Weird. His secret is safe no more. We got to get into the stories, though. We can't spend any more time on the McFlurry mishap. We got a whole bunch of weird Canadian news stories to take on tonight. We're going to hear another story related to a Canada goose. We have a couple more gross Canadian places, which seems to be a new thread we're following along. We're going to hear about cats again. And then we have one of the dumber and most bizarre Canadian criminals we've ever covered here on Keep Canada Weird. But I want to start it off with this odd kind of standalone story. There's a story related to a Canadian goose who's launching an odd kind of solo mission in the United States, down in Colorado. Around the world, Canada is known for its healthcare and for its kindness. But now, in some parts of Colorado, it's known for bringing chaos. A lone Canadian goose named Lucy, which is short for Lucifer, has been terrorizing a group of American troopers, proving once again that Canadian wildlife is anything but gentle and nothing to be messed with. Here's the story of the Canadian goose who's taken on the Colorado police.
High-stress jobs require places to unwind.
Peaceful over here.
Colorado State Trooper Sherry Mendez finds solace in this garden outside the State Patrol Academy.
Yes, this is a memorial dedicated to our fallen officers. Just tranquil, peaceful, just somewhere where you want to sit and have your thoughts.
But Sherry's mind has been a bit preoccupied lately by a new arrival at the academy.
She's always coming around, causing chaos, hissing at us. I call her Lucy, short for Lucifer, the goose around the academy.
Lucy showed up a few months ago and quickly started claiming her territory.
She's always on somebody's car.
Sherry keeps her distance.
No, Gabe can do it. He's in uniform. He's got a taser.
It'll stay there and I'll stay over here.
Gabe Moultrie also avoids Lucy.
There's a few times I've joked around with people in the office and I'm like, hey, the goose is on your car. And then they panic, run outside, ready to hit the alarm. So far, I haven't seen anybody walk out to her yet.
But people have walked out.
I'm just a victim.
To presents from Lucy.
She just went all crazy with it. Poop Casso over here.
Her artwork piles up as she moves from roof to roof.
Right now, it's been on top of this car for at least an hour and a half.
Gabe says she only leaves to come down for food and water before returning to her post.
Any car is pretty much fair game. It's one of those things where if it was on my car, I probably would just leave it and figure out a different way to get home.
So if you get a driver, like somebody dressed in a full trooper uniform, it's me, and it's because there's a goose on my car.
She may not wear a badge, but nobody doubts her commitment to protecting these brave men and women.
Look at her, see? Yeah, I see you. I'm not scared of you.
Bold words from a distance.
That whole thing is no surprise to me. We've covered on this show only probably last month the story of a group of Canadian geese who have taken over a military base in Ottawa. The fact that a lone Canadian goose could take over like a state trooper academy in Colorado, it's no surprise to me. I think the bird's got a bit of guts. I'm surprised the Americans haven't put an end to it, but it seems like with a little bit of doing her business on all of their cars, she's kept them in check pretty much.
It's interesting because, as Donald Trump talks about, the 51st state and trying to take us in, I think now that we've found the Americans' weakness, which is just a goose or two, I think now we can really put up a fight because, we have a smaller population, smaller military, all of those things. I think this is now an eye-opening situation for us to realize that we could put up a fight. We could just either just send the geese directly at them or just save up a lot of goose poop and just throw that at them.
Did you like her line, poop casso?
Yeah, it was cute. Poop casso.
I like that.
Yeah, poop has been used in art before. It wouldn't be the first time. And to know that it's still being used to this day, even by Mother Nature, that's great.
When I looked at it, like most people are going to be hearing the audio of the news clip and not seeing the gory video of the poop all over the cars. It wasn't very artistic, but it was a surprising amount from one bird. I guess a Canada goose or a Canadian goose, they are big animals, but I'm surprised that they can kind of wreak that kind of havoc on a parking lot. And I don't know, I hate to say it, but I'd like to see it. I'm rooting for the goose in that story.
Yeah, that's a part of national pride for us. So I certainly am rooting for the goose. I don't think there's any connection with the animal uprising. Mm-hmm. I think this is actually could be an orchestrated kind of plan or, from maybe the Canadian government.
You're exactly right. For listeners new to the show, the animal uprising Aaron references is a phenomenon we've been tracking on the show involving animals seemingly being aware of their current place in the world and trying to take out society and take down humanity to regain top slot. In our study and our research has shown that the animals are looking to change that. You're right, Aaron. I don't think this story is a story directly connected to the animal uprising. I think it is a bit of a lone wolf, except it's not a wolf, it's a goose. And I think it could have to do with the geopolitical climate with Canada and the U.S. I think a Canadian goose maybe caught wind of a news report and thought they had to do something about it, and they went down there and stirred up some trouble. And one of the only ways they can, hissing, honking, flapping its wings, and pooping on cop cars.
Yeah, it's great that, you and I don't search out stories about poop. That's not what we're trying to do here. Mm-mm. But as a happy accident, we talk about poop a lot on this show.
It is surprising how often this comes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always poop where you don't expect there to be poop. And it finds our way onto our show all the time. And I'm happy to talk about it. Most of our lives, we were told to be quiet about poop. And I think this is something that we need to highlight, that it should be normal to talk about it. And we need to normalize being entertained by it. I mean, I like it. You like it. The listeners love it. Probably more than you and I do.
Yeah, that's true. Well, if that's the case, if that is so, I think the listeners and you and I are going to love the first segment of stories we get to after this short break. If you recall, in last week's episode, which is episode 171 of Keeping Canada Weird, we heard a collection of stories related to gross Canadian places. Most notably, we had that huge pond in a KFC parking lot. Well, we have a couple more gross Canadian places to get to. Let's take a short break. When we get back, we're going to go to Toronto, where there's a horrible story related to a rotting raccoon. We'll hear about that after this break. Handsome Aaron Airport, I promised you two stories related to gross Canadian places. The first one is an especially gross story. It's disturbing. It involves cruelty, I think cruelty to animals. So we're going to go into this one a little light, but there is a story here to discuss. This is the story related to some raccoon rot raising a stink in Toronto. In East York, Ontario, a dead raccoon hanging by its foot from a shed has turned some backyard bliss into a summer nightmare. Despite pleas to the city and to the owner of the shed, John Peter Doobie and his family have been left enduring the stench and the health risks associated with living next door to a decomposing raccoon for days. Here's the story of the dead hanging raccoon in Toronto.
John Peter Doobie climbs on top of his garage, not far from the remains of a dead raccoon stuck on a neighbor's nearby shed. There's a pungent smell in the backyard that's unmistakable.
Me and my wife, we spend time out here every night, so yeah, the last 4 nights we've been inside.
Raccoon got hung up on the shed last Friday. Doobie and his wife recorded this video Saturday. The raccoon was struggling but alive, and they tried to get help.
Contacted the neighbor, I explained to him the situation, and then I contacted the city as well. They said they can't do anything about it, and then about an hour later, the raccoon died.
If someone had taken action,
it was easily solvable had someone responded quick enough. If we had got the call, we could come and we would cut out the wood further to let it make the hole big enough for it to be able to get out.
But 4 days later,
what would you like to see happen today?
I'd like to see the raccoon gone from this area.
Hours after Doobie called us, we found Alex, who owns the property.
I'm Sean O'Shea with Global News.
Alex wasn't in the mood for answering questions.
So we're wondering why you haven't taken care of this raccoon for several days.
I don't want to talk to you, please. Get off my property.
Okay, but why haven't you?
Because I was busy.
But this raccoon has been stinking up their yard for days.
I've been busy.
Alex refused to give us his last name. His property is a home construction project that's been underway for more than 6 years. He eventually put a bag on the dead animal and then took it down. The City of Toronto won't remove dead animals from private property. That's up to homeowners.
Look for companies that offer a free estimate.
Hey, because now we're not neighbors and friends.
Alex drove to Doobie's house to argue he did nothing wrong.
You didn't show me any picture.
I didn't show you?
In the end, the dead raccoon is gone, but the animosity between neighbors lingers.
So I went to see it right there, like a half an hour ago.
Sir, this is Wednesday.
That's okay. Listen.
And that was Saturday.
4 days of decomposition in the heat of summer, an example of how one neighbor's actions can affect others.
Oh, there's a lot to say about that story. Let's start with the cruelty to animals side of it. So this guy that is the focus of this story, who's been enduring the smell, he sees a raccoon. It seems like the raccoon was like in the roof of this shed kind of thing, and somehow in trying to get out of the roof of the shed, it looks like the raccoon like got his like back legs caught or something. Because at one point in that news clip, it shows a video that he filmed, that the man who's been enduring the smell filmed, that seems to show the raccoon still alive, kind of like just dangling and trying to get himself free. According to the man who's been enduring the smell, he contacted the owner of the house and the owner of the shed that the raccoon was stuck in. He contacted the city. No one did anything, and the raccoon died in that period of time. And then over the next 4 or 5 days, the raccoon's just been decomposing in some of the hottest temperatures in several years. This man's been enduring it. And that's when he must have, I guess, wrote to the news. And that's what brings Global News out there with their cameras to film the situation and film the owner of the home and the shed being a bit of a prick, it seems to me.
Yeah, he got so mad over the whole thing. And now, I didn't pick up, like, is this a property that he rents? Like, are people living there? Or what type of property is this?
It's hard to, looking at the news clips, it looks like a regular house, but it seems like it's unoccupied and it's like a home either being built or being renovated. But it seems like that's been the case for, I think it's at 6 years in the news clip. When you look at the shed, though, the shed wasn't in great shape. So this is an assumption, but I'm thinking it's a older house that's being renovated slowly over the last like 5 or 6 years. But according to the news clip that we just listened in on, the guy who's been enduring the smell has tried to contact this fella who owns the shed to say this is what's happening. I think for whatever reason, when the news shows up is when the guy finally who owns the house comes and gets involved, and that leads to a bit of a shouting match. When you watch the video of the news, and I'll link to it in the episode description, you can see them kind of pointing fingers at each other, saying, "Hey, you're not my neighbor. I'm mad at you for going to the news about this situation." So there seems to be some debate about how long this has been going on for, if the guy who owns the house and the shed should have known about this. But all things considered, it's a horrible situation, and that raccoon shouldn't have died. I don't want to point blame anywhere here, but if it was me and I saw that happening, a raccoon dangling and kind of struggling for its life, I would have a real hard time not jumping a fence and trying to get it out of there.
Yeah, it's tricky as well because we're talking about, a wild raccoon here, and they can be unpredictable for sure,
and dirty and everything else. But yeah, I feel like I could get it out of there without getting too close. Like, it seemed like its feet were caught between some boards. So I'd like to think, like, with like a shovel or something, I could just, stand below it and stick it up. But then again, the thing would end up falling on my face and tearing me a new one.
Well, that's you would have to get up on the roof of it was a shed, right? You'd have to get up on the roof of the shed and then try to get it off, but then it would fall to the ground. So if you could put something under there, if you had something to catch its fall so that it falls onto like a mattress or something,
or a trampoline,
and then scurries away, or a trampoline and then bounces back up and gets stuck again.
By his head this time. But we've heard, like, what could you not call the police? And that seems silly to say, to call the police in the situation. But if you've been listening to Keep Canada Weird for a while, we have so many stories that we've covered that involve police responding to like weird animal stuff. I guess it's often like an animal, like I remember one where there was like a deer stuck in someone's basement, and I think there was also one about bats in a house or something, and the police actually went and assisted. I feel like you could call the police and be like, this raccoon is dangling by its feet and it's going to die. Yeah. If someone doesn't get out.
I mean, the police are, at the end of the day, your only resort sometimes, because there just aren't any resources available to help you in a situation like that.
Yeah. With police, at least you can get a hold of somebody.
So I don't know how pleased 911 would be about that, but it's just, what do you do though? So then do you handle it yourself? And you're putting yourself at risk, climbing somebody's shed on their property. Is the animal going to bite you because it thinks you're trying to hurt it? There's a lot of unknowns in this situation. So I agree with you when you say, why didn't this neighbor go over there and do something? Like, I think that's what I would want to do, but you would need a really good plan to go over in this situation and to be able to rescue this raccoon. But I'm surprised that the raccoon died so quickly afterwards.
Yeah, well, maybe it's been there for hours before this guy even saw it. He probably heard it, because I think the raccoon was probably making some sounds. But I am surprised it died that quickly. Yeah, I don't know. It's a horrible story. But then aside from the whole situation with the raccoon still clinging to life and dangling, over the next coming days when it's deceased and it's just hanging there, it is so grim and disturbing. They show photos of it in that news clip, and it just looks horrifying and so disturbing. I would like to think you could call the city or animal control or something, and they would prioritize this and get rid of it. Didn't seem to be the case. Much like so many other issues, it takes getting a news reporter with a camera there before something gets done. And in this case, what happened is the owner of the home, the guy who was upset to have the news there, he kind of climbed up a ladder with a garbage bag in his hand, grabbed the raccoon and just kind of like yanked it with the garbage can and pulled it to the ground. And he looked pretty disgusted by the whole thing.
Oh, when it actually falls, he like lets it go, and then he kind of like scurries away from it.
Yeah.
So he was really grossed out. He really did not want to do that. And nobody wants to do that. But at the end of the day, it's your property. The city is only going to do something about it if it's on the city's property.
Yeah.
If it's on a sidewalk or on the side of a highway or something. But if it's hanging from your dirty old shed, it's your dirty old problem.
We have another story of gross Canadian places, but this is actually a bit of a palate cleanser. I don't know if this story will even fit in this segment, but a part of me felt like it should. We've talked in the past about one of my favorite Canadian facts, and that is that the province of Alberta is one of the only rat-free places in Canada or the United States, or a lot of the world for that matter. But the reason I'm bringing that up tonight is because Alberta is celebrating its 75th year rat-free this month. And so I thought we'd talk about it. Let's listen in on a news clip celebrating Alberta's 75th year, almost a century rat-free.
The journey ends here for rats looking to cross the Alberta-Saskatchewan border. For the past 75 years, the province's rat control program has kept the pesky pests at bay.
It's great to be part of a program that people are so proud of.
It's nice to say that we're one of the few jurisdictions without such a vermin.
Rats were first reported by the eastern border in 1950 and would have continued to spread west. Legislation, however, declared them a pest that year.
Every Albertan is required to control them if they have them on their property. It quickly became clear that they would cause a lot of damage to agriculture along the border there.
Under the Agricultural Pest Act, it's also illegal to import, sell, or own pet rats. The province launched a campaign to educate people.
Most people had never seen a rat up until that point.
Something that still remains true today.
Have you ever seen a rat in Alberta?
No, I can't say I have.
I haven't seen any.
I have not.
And they want to keep it that way. Last year, there were 30 confirmed reports of rats in the province, a small issue compared to others.
One problem I think that's prevalent here in the Edmonton area, maybe it's most of Alberta, are the coyotes. I mean, I think that's maybe more so of a problem than the rats.
Still, the province encourages everyone to be aware. So if you do see a furry pest, don't be afraid to rat them out.
That is a great Canadian fact. I'm forever amazed that rats aren't in Alberta. You just take it as a given that where there is garbage, there is rats. Not in Alberta. And it's a fairly new thing. Like they're talking about starting this in 1950 at the time when rats were slowly making their way across Canada. I would have assumed rats have been here long before that. But this is like a pretty new phenomenon. Like 75 years isn't that long, but it is long when you're talking about keeping rats out of your province.
Yeah, they were able to start early, I guess, because I didn't know either that, before 1950 that rats weren't really that common in the country. Is that basically what they're saying?
Yeah. And it was as they were making their way across the country, Alberta was worried about rats messing with the crops and messing with the farmers. So they very quickly enacted legislation that requires you to manage rat infestations or rats on your property, report rats if you see them. And they also did a large advertising campaign. I went through a whole bunch of old government kind of communications promoting the reporting of rat sightings. And it is quite wild to see it, considering it's only 75 years old. People at that time were even like unfamiliar with rats and the risks associated with them. So it was almost like this propaganda-looking flyers that were put up across Alberta, letting people know how nasty and dangerous these things were. So they just, got ahead of it right away, and they've just not allowed them to come back. And here we are 75 years later, no rats in Alberta, but there are reports. In reading through some of the numbers, over last year, 2024, there were 600 reports of rat sightings, all of which were investigated by pest control officials. Only 5% turned out to actually be rats. The rest of them, and they were dealt with, the rest of them were things like mice, muskrats, which kind of look like rats, or just unsubstantiated reports, maybe raccoons and squirrels and stuff. But they actually look into every rat sighting. And I think that's kind of wild, because here in Nova Scotia, in Halifax, you walk by the back of a Tim Hortons or something like that, you're probably going to see a couple rats running around.
Oh, absolutely. Rats are becoming much more prevalent now. I know in this province, I know in Cape Breton where I am, it's you hear about rat problems all the time now. And it's just getting worse and it's getting worse. And I really think that legislation is the way to go here, where
it has to be.
We have to kind of force people to take this seriously, to keep their properties clean, keep them rodent and rat free. You just have to take people by the wrist and just say, we're doing this. It's happening. We need to get the population down of these very gross things, and we got to do it together. So if you don't follow along, you're going to get fined. And
it's an accountability thing, and that's what's happened in Alberta. It's like the reason they're so prominent in so many other places, like let's just say Nova Scotia, for example, is you can keep your yard spotless and clean, remove garbage, do all the right things. If someone else on your street doesn't do that stuff, the rats that will make their yard home are going to find their way over to your property as well. That's just the way that species works, is they infest an area and they just spread out and multiply rapidly. So it's, if you allow some people to not look after their property and don't hold them accountable for it, you're going to have pests like rats. Same goes for ants and all this other stuff that can run wild. But I just think Alberta, of all the things you hear about it, you don't hear enough that they've managed to shut down the rat population. And I think that's incredible. As someone who reports on gross Canadian places, I tip my hat to Alberta.
Yeah. You never wear a hat when you do that. But this is an outstanding accomplishment. It's something that I'd like to piggyback on being proud of, like, congratulations to everybody in Alberta.
Do you want to give them a round of applause, a clap?
No. We've already given them all that, at this point in time. I'm so embarrassed for my province and how many rats we have here. And even not just rats, but people who are ratty, let's also try to get rid of those creatures, like human beings that are just ratty.
Rat-like, yeah. We all know what you're talking about.
One thing I'll say to homeowners is if you're going to have a bird feeder, get one that you can be certain that the bird feed doesn't drop to the ground, because that is a big... you're actually buying a rat feeder when you have bird feeders that the seed falls to the ground. They love that stuff. They go near it, they eat it, and then they look for more. And that's my advice to the Keep Canada Weird listeners who have property.
And bird feeders.
Yeah. Birds are lovely because the bird feeders bring them around, but they also bring around rodents.
With the thought of rodents being brought around, we'll take our second and final break. We will no longer have to talk about gross Canadian places or rats or dead raccoons. Instead, when we come back from our second and final break, we'll end the show with a dumb Canadian criminal, but not just any dumb Canadian criminal. This is a bizarre, unusual, and just plain weird Canadian criminal after this break. Handsome Aaron Airport, we have the benefit of having a network of Keep Canada Weird correspondents all around the world to bring these stories that we share to us. We have a correspondent named Charles who told us about the Saskatoon man who broke into a house through the attic. And I want to thank Charles for sharing this story, because I haven't heard anything like this before. A Saskatoon family had the scare of a lifetime when they came face to face with an intruder who was trying to get into their patio door. Fortunately, they scared the guy off. Well, they thought they did, until later that night when they heard an unusual sound on their roof. Here's the story of a maniac in a Saskatoon attic.
And then we heard out of nowhere, bonk, 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 bonk. Someone had leapt onto our roof.
And then from onto the roof, into the roof.
And then crack, crunch, and then you could just hear crunch, like walking on leaves, plastic-covered leaves. He was in our ceiling, crawling across our insulation. And you could hear him, just track him as easy as anything through the house.
The Hardy family's guy in the attic misadventure had actually started earlier Saturday night. Karen was upstairs with their daughter, and Matthew was with their son.
I had just come down from putting my son to bed, and I heard someone violently trying to open one of our glass doors there on our deck door. And I looked over, and sure enough, there was a man reefing, pulling hard on our deck door.
Hardy says he spoke to the man, who was covered with dirt and leaves. The man said he was being chased and wanted into the house. Hardy said no way that was going to happen. By then, Karen had called the police. The man took off before officers arrived. The couple was too rattled to sleep, so they started watching a movie. That's when they heard the guy bust a hole in their roof. They called 911, and the cops were back in a flash. They came with the tactical unit and a drone.
They called in a couple gentlemen who had a flying drone, and they put a drone up there. And sure enough, they found him buried in insulation, hiding in insulation up there. And
they put a drone
into our ceiling and flew it around.
And oh no!
Police dragged the man out through the attic hatch in a bedroom closet. A 33-year-old man is now charged with break and enter. Matthew and Karen say it's one of those tales that will be enshrined in family lore.
It's a crazy story of someone jumping onto your roof and stomping a hole through your roof to get into your house to rest in your insulation.
The charge doesn't fit the crime. Like, if you're charged with break and enter, that's not what I would expect. I think that's, you broke into a store late at night to steal from the cash register or something. And that's the crime I picture. But if you actually get on the roof of someone's home, like pulling away vents and shingles and digging your way into the house to hide in the insulation in the attic, there needs to be break and enter in the first degree and in the second degree. Whatever the most intense break and enter is what this guy should get.
Yeah, well, they should call it break and move in. As it just, he's like, I'm going to live in your attic. That's I've decided.
He seems like he wanted to hide though, because when he showed up at the door covered in mud and leaves, which is a frightening sight. Could you imagine the horror of in the middle of the day, you're in the house with your kids, and you hear someone just like pulling on your patio door, and you look, and it's a man covered in mud and leaves? Like, that is terrifying. It sounds like Swamp Thing. But he says someone's chasing him. So that would kind of imply that either someone's chasing him or this guy needs something more than a hiding spot.
He must have been fixated on that house, because he goes to the patio door and he's banging on it, whatever. Let me in. Somebody's chasing me. No, we're not letting you in. We just called the police. And then he seemingly leaves. But he desires this house so much. He doesn't go to another house and see if he can get in through their patio door. He doesn't see if there's a shed somewhere that he can hang from and eventually dive on. But he leaves, and then he says to himself, yeah, I am being chased, but I really want to hide out in that house. I really like that house. So they don't want me there. So what I'll do is I'll crawl up onto the roof like Santa Claus, and then I'll claw my way through the roof into the attic, and then I'll just lie comfortably in the insulation.
Laying in the insulation of an attic, that alone sounds pretty awful. But I guess prior to that, he was covered in mud and leaves, which also would imply he was hiding somewhere else undesirable. But yeah, this guy, he really doesn't take the path of least resistance. If you want to hide from someone, breaking into a home, the same home, using two different methods, both involving calls to the police, yeah, there's got to be an easier way. What about the side of the story where the police showed up with a tactical unit and actually sent a drone in the attic? The hole was big enough that this man dug into the roof that they were able to actually fly a drone in and find him. But I guess how else do you do it? If there's a hole in the roof and the homeowner is saying there's a guy in there, I can't imagine the cops would actually climb in the hole and fish the guy out.
Well, what state are his fingernails in this situation? I mean, this guy dug through a roof. Am I hearing that wrong? This guy dug through a roof?
It's exactly what it looks like. And when you look at the video and the photos and the news articles and stuff, I think his hole starts with a vent. Like a roof is going to have all these different vents. It seems like he pulled out a vent, then pulled away some of the wooden shingles and stuff around that to make that hole big enough for a 33-year-old man to climb into. To answer your question, yes, I'm sure his fingernails were in rough shape and probably so dirty.
Oh, so dirty. But even still, the strength that it would take to achieve what he did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he needs to be studied, I think. I think this guy, there's more to this guy than meets the eye. The fact that he was able to do that, I wouldn't have been able to dig into through someone's roof to get inside their home.
No, you would have to be pretty desperate. There is another side of this too. I don't know if this gives us any context or information related to this, but when they did find him burrowed under the insulation, like when they found him, he was like dug his way into the insulation in the roof. He was shirtless, he was shoeless, and he was missing a sock, I believe. When they pulled him out of the house, he didn't have a shirt on, which I can only imagine how awful it would feel to have the insulation against your bare belly. But as he was going out of the house, the homeowner saw the police taking him away. He said to the police officers, "Please don't forget my shirt. Go get my shirt." They found his shirt, and it was actually like caught. His shirt and the shoe were actually caught in like a roof drain or something, which would imply he spent some time up on the roof, maybe doing more than just digging this hole.
What else was he doing up there?
Well, he took his shirt off. Maybe it was because he was hot. Like an attic would be really hot.
He was probably warm. It's a summer night. The dude's digging literally with his bare hands through a roof. Every roofer I've ever seen has never worn a shirt.
That's true.
Have you ever seen someone working on a roof with a shirt on?
Never in my life. Not even once in my life.
It's actually the most normal part of the story is the fact that he wasn't wearing a shirt.
I wonder when they shoot him away from the patio door, the cop showed up, he wasn't there or whatever. I wonder if he went on the roof at that point. That's why they didn't find him. And he had spent the afternoon while they're watching a movie, slowly scratching his way into the roof like a raccoon.
Slowly. This is like Escape from Alcatraz when they slowly use those little tools to dig away at the wall until they were able to get through.
It is exactly like that.
Exactly like it. Yeah.
It's a weird one. It's a dark one. I don't like the idea of someone showing up at my door covered in mud and leaves and later finding them buried in the insulation in my attic. We need a palate cleanser, and what makes us feel better than stories about cats? We've been talking about cats on leashes lately. I think this came about maybe 2 or 3 episodes back. We heard the story about the new trend involving cats being brought to public places by their owners, and it all being made possible by cat harnesses and leashes. That led to a couple voicemails being sent in about cats being on leashes. We have another one here. This is a listener named Allie, who's quite excited to tell us about her experience with a cat on a leash. We'll end the episode with Allie. Here it comes.
Hi, Jordan. Hi, Aaron. I just listened to one of the episodes about cats being out in the world on leashes, and I am so for it. I wanted to say that my daughter started kindergarten this year, and one of the other parents at drop off in the morning would always have a kitten with her. And every day we saw this cat, and from the beginning of school year to the very end, and we saw this cat grow up. And not only that, she would crochet this cat outfits, and this cat liked it. Some cats, you do not want to put outfits on them. They don't like it. This cat, he loved it. His name is Millard, and he would come dressed up as things like Winnie the Pooh and frogs, and I'm not talking just shirts. I'm talking hats, matching hats, booties, he would have little boots on, and he loved it. And then at the end of the year, our little kindergartners did a little song, and she had her cat in a backpack, like a cat backpack, it's got a little window and holes so he can breathe. It was amazing. I love it. Other parents, I could see them. I could see the looks they were giving. They were rolling their eyes, and I'm over there just happy to see a cat. It was amazing. So I just wanted to say, if you have a cat that wants to be out in the world, do it. It's so cool. Cat lovers like me love to see it.
And I think some cats probably enjoy it. I like the idea of normalizing cats being brought around like dogs. You often see people with dogs in public places, with the dog on the leash and the dog just sitting there. You rarely see it with cats, and people love cats. I support this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people love cats. I love cats, obviously. I talk about it all the time on the show. But there's some of this I agree with, and there's some of this I don't agree with.
How do you feel about dressing up the cat as a frog?
Well, that's what I really strongly do not believe or agree with. I believe that it happened, but I don't believe in the act of doing it. I think this cat is just a docile cat who has probably given up. Their owner has probably dressed them up so many times that they're just like, fine, whatever. I'll wear the bumblebee costume. Like, I think that's the situation here. It would be it would take a lot to convince me that the cat actually enjoys it. The cat tolerates it at this point in its life because it realizes it has no choice. So, bringing the cats outside, that's a choice. I don't disagree with that. I think it's good to normalize it. Some cats have the temperament for it. My cat would not. He would freak the F out. But
what about the backpack carrier? And she's describing seeing the cat in one of the backpacks that have kind of like a clear ball section that the cat can kind of sit in and look at the world around them. I like that, but maybe it'd be frustrating for a cat because a cat is a very get in there kind of animal.
Yeah, I'm so conflicted about all of this because I'm someone who wants to bring my cat out into the world. I really do want to do that. But I think cats, when they go outside, they want to explore the world on their own terms. Mm-hmm. And what we're playing God with here is bringing cats out on our terms and forcing them to kind of move where we move and adhere to our standards and practices. And that's just not what a cat does. A cat wants to go off on its own and explore and beat to its own drum. And, it's not like a dog. A dog is a very walkable animal. And the backpack is a great idea to take your cat with you. It's a good way to make your cat portable if you have to bring them somewhere. If you're going on vacation, you don't want to leave your cat home alone. You take your cat with you, you use the backpack, you use the leash, you make it work. But at the end of the day, I think, we're human beings that put our feelings and emotions into animals a lot of the times. But at the same time, I've got an indoor cat and he stays indoors all day. And is that really good? I don't know. Is there a happy solution here for our domesticated feline friends? I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I guess we should put it out to the listeners. If you have an opinion on should cats be treated like dogs in the context of going for walks and being taken places, let us know about it. If you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about that as well. You can go to nighttimepodcast.com/contact and send us a voicemail there. And by having your voice appear on the show, you become a Keep Canada Weird correspondent, and you get all the perks that go along with that, namely a Keep Canada Weird swag pack. You let us know where you live, which isn't as creepy as it sounds, and we'll send you a hot pink swag pack that includes stickers and whatever merch I have in my Keep Canada Weird drawer here, sent right to your place for you to enjoy in whatever way you enjoy things like stickers and pins.
Yeah. For new listeners, in that swag pack is your official Keep Canada Weird correspondent badge.
Mm-hmm. Which gets you a lot of access to special places across Canada and the world.
Mm-hmm. So you get to go into, courtrooms, you get to go into government offices, you get to go and investigate crimes. So, when a detective shows up on a crime scene and it's like, hey, I'm Detective Johnson, and they flash their badge and then they just walk right onto the crime scene and they start investigating. So then you can walk up to a crime scene and say, KCW listener, correspondent 19247.
They're like, go right in, sir or ma'am.
There's like, here's your coffee. Enjoy the crime scene. Touch whatever you want.
Yeah, it's exactly the reception you'll get.
Matter.
All right, I think we've been through a lot tonight, Aaron. I think we've done it. This has been 172 episodes, over 172 hours of weird Canadian news that we've unpacked. And I think we're only at the beginning of it here. This country never ceases to amaze me. And I'm glad to be amazed alongside you, my friend.
Virtual fist bump here.
Put a bow on it. Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan Bus Stop Backhoe Bonaparte. Until next time.
If you hear someone complain about how awful it is to travel and the day they had on an airplane, what you do is you just give them a hug and you say, it's okay. You're home now. It's over. Because I needed that today.
And Jordan, until next time, when I come to visit you, can I sleep in your attic?
Sure. I've been up there before. I have they call it blown insulation, where it's just like if you stood in my attic, up to your waist is just like foamy, itchy stuff. It would, if it wasn't so itchy and dirty and covered in dust, it'd be so comfortable to lay on. Like if it was just like cotton balls.
Yeah.
It's not like that. But you're welcome to sleep up there. Go for it.
But don't worry, I'll be covered head to toe in mud and leaves, so I won't even feel the itchy insulation.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. If you got a news story from your area that you'd like to share with us, or have any thoughts or theories or opinions on anything we discussed tonight, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us by using the voice recorder that can be found at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. And on that topic, I want to give a big thank you to this episode's correspondents. If your voice message was aired tonight, you can email me your address. My email is nighttimepodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get a Keep Canada Weird badge and swag pack sent out to you. I just ask that you wear the badge proudly and responsibly. Next, a big thanks goes out to Aaron for another great night, you, Nicole, for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data for the outro version of O Canada. And then, of course, a sincere and massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening. Your support makes this show possible. And if you'd like to support the show even more, please consider a subscription to the premium feed, which can be found at nighttimepodcast.com/subscribe. The premium feed costs just a couple dollars a month, but that money will fund the creation of new episodes of the show, and it'll give you those episodes 2 days early, ad-free, and access to a back catalog of episodes. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by sharing this episode on social media. That helps a lot too, and it's free. Your support is very much appreciated. So with all that said, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and together, let's keep Canada weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
Good morning. My name is Tanya Paulus. I visit my mom in Elmvale at least once a week, and I noticed this large, round, burnt, perfect circle in her backyard in Elmvale, Ontario, Canada, and I took a picture. My mom did not know that she had it in her backyard, so we don't know if it was Wednesday night, made by Wednesday night, and nobody has been out there touching the grass. My mom lives alone by herself, and I find it quite odd that it is a perfectly round, burnt circle of grass in her backyard. And we need this to be taken a look at. We find it quite scary and exhilarating all at the same time.
And keep Canada weird. Please keep Canada weird.